Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're doing well. Today we have to pot up some of my favorite cuttings of my favorite plant, one of my favorite plants, the Scindapsus Jade Satin. So let's get right to it. Before we begin, we will need two simple tools. Well, one is optional, one isn't. I'm just going to use this trash bag and this rooting hormone. And rooting hormone is great because it helps spur the development of additional roots to be grown once you pot up your plant cuttings, at least. I had some really nice roots grow in on some of these Jade Satin Scindapsus, and it is absolutely stunning. It is hands down one of my favorite plants. This, of course, is the plant that I'm talking about here, the Jade Satin Scindapsus. Scindapsus are really well known, actually, and you can find them sometimes, not the Jade Satin yet, at least, but you can find them in your local grocery stores, mostly like the Silvery Anns, the Exoticas, and you can also find them at plant shops. There is one other important tool that I need that I have just completely spaced on, and that, of course, is soil. The soil that I'm going to use is just this Miracle-Gro tropical potting mix. It's pretty good, and it's light, it's airy, and it has so many valuable things for plants. So what we're going to do, like we normally would do, is grab our pot, and I'm going to use this beautiful green one that I had left over from another plant. The thing that I love about this plant in particular is that Jade Satin Scindapsus is such a resilient plant. In fact, the entire genus of Scindapsus is really good in terms of being strong, resilient, and they have such thick leaves. They are really something, and they're absolutely beautiful. Now, I had these cuttings hanging up, I think, for about maybe a month and a half or 2 months before they started developing good roots. I had one right up here where this Scindapsus exotica, which is another beautiful plant, another one of my favorites, it was growing. I had one above my computer desk over there, and then one behind my fridge, and gosh, there was one other one. Somewhere over here I had another one that was rooting up, and fortunately the roots took pretty well. So what we're going to do is we are going to start with our base layer here of soil, and I don't want to get any on my chairs here, so I'm just going to take this and put it there. In fact, these are kind of in the way. I don't know why I didn't move these out of the way earlier. This is what happens when you are recording things a little bit too quickly and not thinking, which tends to be what I do, not think. So, yes, we have our base layer in here, and I have 4 cuttings here. One thing that I really love about this plant is its color, and you can tell why it gets the nickname or the name Jade Satin Scindapsus. I mean, the fact that it's this green, there's so much chlorophyll that is inside these plants, and they like brighter indirect light, at least in my experience from what I've noticed. And I've had this plant for over a year, and it's such a beautiful royal dark green that just pops. So much chlorophyll in these plants, but the thing is, if they don't get that really high bright indirect light, they will start to revert their color, and you'll start to see silvery speckles pop up on them. And don't get me wrong, the silver is absolutely stunning, especially when you mix it with a green like that, but there's something about this plant that I absolutely love. And so I took these cuttings from my mother plant, and it was a big plant. Now, mind you, when I first got a Jade Satin Scindapsus, gosh, over a year ago now, it was about $40 for a really small plant. I lucked out and got this mother plant for $50, and it was so huge. And it doesn't look like it probably in this video, but that's because I've cut it so many times and got some really long cuttings that, as you can see, are really beautiful. And those leaves are gigantic. I absolutely love them. So this is what we are going to do now. We have our base layer of soil in here, and then I'm just going to start taking some of the cuttings, and I'm going to start putting some rooting hormone on those roots and potting them up. So I'm not quite sure exactly like how I want this to go, but what I'm thinking is I'm going to start with the longest cutting that I have, just so I can start moving around that with some of the other pieces. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we are going to just, I think, plop it in here like so. And I'm going to set down the roots in there, and I'm not going to touch them as to not disturb them, which is always a good thing. And then I'm going to go for the next one. Thinking we're going to go with this one here. Yeah, this was the one I had above my computer desk area. And it has some nice roots too. I'm curious to know if you folks, if you wouldn't mind in the comments, letting me know about your experience with Scindapsus and what is your favorite Scindapsus overall. I'm always curious to hear because there's so many different varieties and options, and they're all really beautiful. The thing also that I really love about Scindapsus is the fact that you literally will know when they need water because their leaves will start to close in almost like they're folding in, and it's a really good indicator. It's very similar to how philodendron react in a lot of ways. So I'm thinking we're going to do this, and plop this here, and I'll let it sit down for a moment. And I'll grab this other cutting. That is a beautiful cutting with a really nice root. I like that. All right. So we're going to do the same thing. Yeah, actually, I have a few different kinds of species of Scindapsus, and it really is hard for me to pinpoint which one really stands out over the other because they all have so much beauty associated with them. But I would have to say, I mean, this Jade Satin is my favorite Scindapsus. That's no doubt there, but the Exotica, all of them are just beautiful in their own way. So you have plenty of options there to choose from. Whoa, this root is even longer. It was funny because this cutting that I had behind my refrigerator for the last month and a half or 2 months actually developed that top leaf while it was in there. That thing was not even in existence at that point, and it just started growing. So, yeah. Okay. And now that we have our plant in here with its roots, I'm then going to do the easy part, which is just to take our soil and to fill it up around here. I like this too because it also has charcoal in there, activated charcoal, which is really good for protecting the plant and its roots from any bacteria that might develop. And I went with a slightly larger pot than I would normally go with, but that's just because there's 4 different cuttings in here, and some of those roots are just so long that it's kind of necessary. I need some more room for them to grow about. Even though my understanding is that, like philodendron and other kinds of plants, is that Scindapsus really do like to be a little bit root bound. Though I don't know. I mean, it's like, look, I think a plant just wants to be comfortable. That's really what it's looking for in the end, just like us. And so I'm just gonna like push around here, move this around, just so that soil can get around there. The only thing, and normally I'll either make soil or pick up a really good like chunky aeroid mix type of soil from a shop, a plant shop, but this stuff was pretty cheap and I've used it before and I've had success with it. The only thing I do not like is because it is so airy, is that when you go to water it, the soil comes down a little bit. And so if you have like a root that's a little bit higher up and you're trying to cut it, or you're trying to fill it and put this soil over it, is that sometimes it just kind of like washes down and exposes the root. So I'll have to be aware of that and make sure to add some more once I water it. All right, so we have our new Jade Satin Scindapsus right there. And I'm going to water it now and give it some sunlight, let it do its thing, and grow hopefully into a big, beautiful plant just like its mother plant. Hey, as always, I want to thank you guys for tuning in and checking out my channel, my videos. If you haven't already, please give this video a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button if you're not a subscriber yet, because there's some really cool plant content that I want to share with you guys. I hope you're doing well, and I hope you take care, and I will see you in the next video.